Thank you so much, Lynda Drake, for joining us. I'd like to talk about your new book with you. So
Thank
it
you.
is The Power of Imperfect Parenting. I really enjoyed this book.
Good.
I There is the superpower of vulnerability, and I think you hit it right on the nose. Because there was deep moments, and then there was times where I was hysterically laughing. So thank you so much. I do appreciate
That's
all the
good.
tips in there, and that there's some things at the end. I do appreciate that it only took me 2 hours to read, which is pretty
Wow,
good.
you read fast.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. And
Yeah,
so,
good.
yes, and so that means that for the demographic of people that you're trying to reach, of all kinds, that this could be a very good book for us, for people to read, that it's a fast read, and it's got nuggets. I only
Thank you.
read all the way through because I was like, I got to interview her, so I got to read through this whole
Yeah,
thing. But otherwise, I'd stop and marinate with all the tips that you've given and things like that. I much appreciate everything you've done. Okay, let's.
thank you. And it's also going to be an audiobook, which I'm excited about.
Yes, that'll be really
Yeah.
amazing. So people can do their cleaning or they're running
Right.
around.
Right in the
Yes,
car. That's
yes.
where I listen to audiobooks. Right.
And it's not going to be done by Lynda Drake because that would be hilarious.
But
But
it's
yeah,
not done by me, no.
no, awesome. You're only one person. You've learned
Yes.
to
Uh-huh.
hand off things, and that's a beautiful gift in and of itself.
Absolutely, that is.
And so, tell us a little bit about this book.
Well, this book has various tips and things like that for parents. And I try to include everything that I felt was important. So there's chapters on acceptance, on expectations, spirituality, sexuality, how to talk to your kids about sex and money, how to balance siblings, which can be quite a challenge, on all kinds of different things. Humor. Humor is a big thing in my life.
Yes.
So things that will be helpful. And also just to let parents know that they're not alone in their struggle and they can do this, but they have to ask for help when they need it.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is probably a very challenging thing to learn.
Yep.
I
Yep.
believe people with kids who have disabilities and also people whose kids don't have necessarily disabilities can
Yeah.
read this book and learn from it.
Yeah.
So many labels going around right now that they should be empowering and not like limiting.
Right.
So,
I love
yes,
how you said that. Yes, labels should be empowering.
yes.
Yeah, they teach us so much.
So,
And that's one of the things I learned doing this book is how, um, and my work as a job developer, I learned, which is where you help people with disabilities. I also help people experiencing homelessness find work. So I've worked with about 1,000 people with challenges and help them find work. And I've learned that really the challenges we go through are what help us become who we are. And they help us become strong, passionate, empowered people. It's important. It really is.
well said.
Yeah.
So, what is a big takeaway that surprised you in writing this book?
Well, one of the most surprising things I learned was from the last chapter of the book. I interviewed people with disabilities who had disabilities from birth or early childhood and who I see as successful now. And I interviewed them and I asked them, what are you glad that your parents did? Maybe what do you wish you'd done differently? Wish your parents had done differently? And one of the young people I interviewed was actually an intern at Bayard where I work. She has albinism, which is where you have low pigment, so very fair colored skin and light hair. And it also makes you legally blind. It gives you very blurry vision. Her and her sister actually both have it, and they both approached it totally different. Anna chose to embrace all of who she was. And her sister did what more people who have albinism do, which is try to be as normal as she could be. So, really straining her eyes and trying to see everything. Well, Anna just accepted and said, this is who I am, and walked with a cane and everything. And one of the things she did was she went to Gallaudet University, which is a university typically for people who are deaf and hard of hearing. And instead of having her interpreter interpret what the people were saying, she had the interpreter interpret what was going on in the room. And I want to read what she said. So this is her talking about her interpreter. She said she would feel the person's hands as they signed to her what was going on in the room. This allowed her to get the full experience of the class and everyone in it. She revealed to me in that moment she felt the least disabled she had ever felt. It was allowing herself to acknowledge all the things her body couldn't do and accept the help to do it that she felt the least disabled. That was so eye-opening for me as a parent, because as a parent we so often want our kid to be as normal as they can be. So we try to squish our kid with challenges, this beautiful square little peg, into the round hole that society has said this is where you need to fit in. But really, maybe instead we should just be accepting this is our beautiful child exactly as they are, and helping them in whatever areas they want help with to lessen symptoms or whatever, but really just accepting all that they are.
That's a great point. That what you perceive as a challenge might not be what they're perceiving as a challenge.
Right, right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very eye-opening.
So I love that you write tips in your book at the end of each chapter, some
Oh, yeah.
takeaways. So, what inspired you to do that, and what parts of the beauty of it did you just like? How did this tips come about?
Well, one of my powerfully imperfect children, Katie, my youngest, she has life-threatening allergies and pain issues, rheumatoid arthritis and things. And she was the one who came up with this Life Bites. She's also the parent now. She has two little babies, and she's like, Mom, parents are really busy. We have to give it to them real short, sweet, and to the point. So she's the one that came up with Life Bites, which is at the end of each chapter. And they are little things to the biggest takeaways from the chapter. Like, for instance, this one is the one on sex, the chapter on sexuality. The conversation about sex is not always comfortable, but it's always important. So they're just little things like that that help kind of guide you through your parenting journey.
And really meditate on.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
right,
let it marinate.
right, right.
So, yes. And so I love that you are very, very transparent with each child and their different abilities, and how you have learned through them on how to help them and things like that.
Yeah.
So, do you want to say a little bit about your parenting journey?
Yes. So on my parenting journey, so some of the labels that my kids have are, I mentioned Katie's, but they also have mood disorder, Down syndrome, diabetes, autism, ADD, which is attention deficit disorder, and dyslexia, bulimia. So a variety of issues. And one of the things I learned really quickly on my parenting journey was I couldn't do it perfect. That I think perfect parent is really an oxymoron, because there are just way too many choices to be made as a parent, way too many decisions and things to do, and it's just not possible to do them all perfectly. So I let that go and just decided to focus on love and letting love lead. And some of the things I learned, there's 4 words that I say a lot, and that is learn, laugh, love, and let go. So on my journey, I learned to learn what was going on, laugh. I'm really good at laughing,
Yes,
loving,
you
and
are.
letting go.
If there was a medal,
Yes.
you'd win.
Right.
I love it. It's beautiful. Yes. So, and how did you get into your job as a job coach? And
That's actually in my book on money.
oh,
So I was going through a very difficult financial time myself. I had quit my job at Schwab. I used to be a stockbroker, and I went broke, like my husband told me I would. And I was looking in the paper at jobs, and I saw a job that said helping people with disabilities find jobs. And I thought, well, with my kids, with their challenges, I can do that. So I started as a job developer, and I did that for 22 years. And I've worked in those years with probably at least 1,000 people who have all types of disabilities and those experiencing homelessness. And I've learned that parenting matters, how you parent matters, and that parenting styles can help empower your kids or disempower them. The beautiful thing is, even if you made mistakes and you went through a lot of stuff with your kids, there's still help and they can still become very strong people, which is a beautiful thing. We don't have to beat ourselves up as parents. But I did learn that also that no matter what type of disability or what challenges somebody have, we all fit in the beautiful, I call it a tapestry or a puzzle of life in our community. And if you look at, I think a puzzle is easier to see. If you look at a puzzle and you see us each as a little puzzle piece, even if one little piece is missing, the whole is not the same. We all have value. And when my kids were young, we were in a parenting group, and there was a young lady with disabilities there who she was quadriplegic, she was nonverbal, and quadriplegic is, of course, when you can't move your arms and legs, you know, from your own brain, you can't move your arms and legs. And she was nonverbal. And she, when she was asleep, she would have to, when she would go from being asleep to being awake, she would have to have a seizure, and that included throwing up every day of her life. So you can easily look at her and think, oh, that's not a very productive person, because we have in our minds productive is you go to work, you make money, you pay taxes, all of that. But with her, and her name is Shelby, she, when you walked into the room and you said hi to her, she lit up with this beautiful smile, and the love, the just divine love that came from her was amazing. So if you look at her and you look at like a CEO, which one do you think is more important? And really the truth is they're both equally important. And that's what working with all of those people taught me. We all have something productive to give. And if that something productive is only is love, that's the most powerful thing in the world. So we all have our place. We all are an important puzzle piece. And that's what working with all those people taught me that I brought to the book.
Sweet. That's amazing. Thank you so
And
much.
it also taught me how to help people be more employable. So there's a chapter in the book on how to help your children be more employable, empower them.
I really do think every person should read this book because you bring in the disability side and you do it from that perspective, but
Yeah.
you open the door wide open. And so every person's there can empower their kid through this book because they may not have the challenges, but the challenges are where we learn the most. And by
Absolutely.
you going through these challenges,
Yeah.
then any person who picks up this book and reads it it's going to super bless them.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. Yeah, and the other thing I learned too from everybody is the importance of disappointment and failure. And there's a lot of parents right now that are afraid to let their children experience disappointment and failure, but life is full of disappointment and failure. And it helps us be stronger. It helps us figure out what we really want. Yeah.
Well, and that disappointment and failure, I when I had my stroke, that was the hardest thing. But you don't realize how strong you are till that's all you have.
Yep.
And for you to say that in this book, and then for anybody to
Yeah.
just take that and run with it, you learn the most through your failures, and it's no secret you write it in the book.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
and so we should all be allowed to fail and have a safe place to do it. And for parents to let their kids fail, I know it's hard and it's scary, but I can only imagine as a parent how hard that would be for me. But
Yeah.
it
But
would
you
just
got to.
yes,
Yeah.
it's the most empowering for them because then you know with a safety net that how they'll do, and then they'll learn from that and take it into life with them. So,
Yep.
yeah, and
And
just Alex hugging that doctor and
oh,
saying, Yes, that is amazing. So,
Yeah, my son with Down syndrome is very good at love, unconditional love. He's taught me a lot about love. And one time he went to the doctor, which is what you're mentioning, and the first thing the doctor said to him was, "He's so obese." He was around 300 pounds at the time. And at the end of the appointment, Alex looked at him, gave him a hug, and said, "I love you." And that doctor said, "You're one of the few." Yeah, that was powerful.
that is,
Something else you just mentioned was strength. And I know that going through the challenges you've been through has taught you what true strength is. Yeah. And one of the things that this book did for me was allowing me to really reflect on things in my life. And my desire to be a strong woman, what I thought was strong, and which was being able to do everything on my own, not needing help from anybody, not taking advice from anybody, not being able to hear what I was doing wrong or what I needed to change. And this book really taught me, and my life has taught me, that real strength is admitting when you need help, being vulnerable and saying, "You know what? I just screwed up. I'm sorry I did, but I did." And yeah, being able to admit that, and that I think is real strength. And it also is where real connection comes from.
yes, the
Yeah.
authentic connection.
The authentic connection.
Because we're all wired to help others if
Yes.
we really think about it.
Yes.
And by allowing not stealing the blessing from somebody who wants to give it.
Yep.
Like if it's just moving a chair, it helps them feel better as it does for us to. I was going to pay for a guy's bus ticket, and so today, and so just putting that in the book, it's
Yeah.
the true power of the connection of all these things.
But doing it from a place of love and not a place of, "Oh, I feel so guilty. I have to do this out of guilt,"
Yes.
which that doesn't serve anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before the stroke, I was go, independent,
Oh, yeah.
all this and that. But to be humbled enough to be like, I need help.
Yes.
And then to keep practicing in it, that's a love muscle right there.
That is a love muscle.
Yes. So, and
that
then,
we get to practice.
then genuinely giving it to others, like you were saying, from a place of love. So.
Yep. Yep.
And was there anything else you'd like to talk about that I didn't mention?
Well, one of the things that I would like to share is what I think people can learn from us parents of kids with disabilities. And there's a few things. One of the things about having kids with disabilities, if you see somebody on the street and there's somebody with them that's obviously having issues. There's been times, my son has severe behavior issues too. And there'll be times when he's been hitting us, throwing rocks, whatever. And if you see that happening, first of all, you have to stay safe in what you're comfortable with, because that's not a comfortable situation. So if you walk by and the only thing you're safe with is sending them love, just send love. That's powerful. Just send them love, that whatever's happening is in their highest good. That's a really good blessing to give them. If you are willing to get hands-on and do more, just look at the person, the parent or whoever is obviously not having the issue. Look at them and just say, "Is there something I can do to help?" Don't just assume that they need help, but just look at them and say, "Is there something I can do?" Because honestly, when Alex is in that place, even if somebody just comes in and says, "Wow, I love your shirt," just gets him in a whole different place mentally, that's helpful. So that's really important. And another thing that I think I can help parents of kids who don't have so many challenges is to learn a couple things. First, acceptance, accept what's going on. This too shall pass. Nothing lasts forever. And it's okay. Don't take life so serious. It's okay. It's okay. Let it go. Let it go.
What a beautiful last statement.
Yes.
Awesome. You just wrapped it up for any person with kids or just in life.
Yeah.
Those 3 or 4, is it 4 things? I'll have to go
Live,
back.
laugh, learn, laugh, love, and let go.
Yes. What a beautiful thing. And I thank you so much for us getting to know each other before the book and
Yeah.
growing together. And it's been so cool. And then just for the journey of life together and just
Yes.
come along in the path. And
It's
such a blessing.
It has been such a blessing. And you're in the book too. You have to get the book and read it to find out where Mary is.
Okay, sweet.
Thank
Yes.
you so much,
Thank
Mary.
you.
This has been awesome.
It has. Thank you so much.